Thursday. I hope everyone's had a good week, and that I'm lost. I'm sorry. I was just completely in the middle of something else. I forgot. I was gonna say I had this really deep, valuable life lesson I was gonna say, and then it slipped my mind. But I hope everyone's having a good week. And hey, Nadia. I'm feeling better, but now, like, does anyone know when you have pain, like, from here going down to here, like what that is? It started yesterday. I started, like, the fever and everything disappeared, and then it hurts here. It hurts a bit when I talk. Fortunately, it's not Monday, so it's not guided meditation today. But I'm feeling very happy, though, and that's the most important thing. I was actually feeling happy before also. It was just tiring to be sick. Let's see. Yeah, we started having winter here in Sweden also, so it's like really cold outside. It's just so fresh. Oh my goodness, it's the air. I remember when I was in Sri Lanka, or I'd come home from Sri Lanka or Asia somewhere, and I'd land on the airport in Denmark, and I'd go out, and it would be like, oh my goodness, the air is so clean. Swedish air and Danish, like Scandinavian air, it's just, it is clean, like really crispy clean, very nice. Hey Mats, I forgot that I already opened the tab with the stream in the background and got really startled. I can understand that. Hey Mindful Mama. Is it lymph nodes? Oh yeah, maybe that's what it's called. It's probably it's like swollen here or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, I had COVID apparently, so that's probably why I was feeling so bad with the vomiting and everything. And I probably still have, but it almost feels like something new. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it'll go over soon. I'm ready to go back to work and start doing stuff again. The most difficult part about being sick is that, like, you just kind of stay at home, and when you have lots of things going, kind of, you have to stop those things and just let them go. And like, okay, well, we'll leave them for now, and then you do other stuff. I'm not much of a Netflix person anymore. Otherwise, that would have been a prime time to sit and watch Netflix. Can you hear that? There's a small airplane flying over my house. Strange. I did, however, last week I couldn't make a video, but I did make one today. And it was about a really, a topic that I believe a lot in, and that I think is really important with how we read scriptures, and how people tend to read texts, and then that's actually another video about that, but it's basically about how we try to reverse engineer enlightenment. We look at someone, we believe, okay, they've done this kind of, and then we look at their behavior and what they do, and we think, if I do the same things, I will get the same results, because it looks like that from the outside, whereas in fact it's how they're focusing, how they're using their awareness, how they're using their minds, how they're working with themselves inside is something we can't see from the outside, and then we just see the effects of it. It's like watching someone really skilled at, like, using a tool, and they're just like, oh, I just used the tool, like that kind of, but you miss, like, all the repetitions and exercises and understanding of how leverage works and everything before they were able to use that tool. So it's about that, and I thought it's really a nice subject to talk about a little bit. And there was a little bit of Facebook drama that got involved in this also. Not on my part. Whenever there's drama like that, and or someone comments on my videos and they're really like, oh, you're terrible, like, you can't say stuff like that, it's so bad, like, it's not Buddhist. Like, I'm not Buddhist to begin with. But I always just, it's fine. There's never any point in getting in a discussion with someone who's so ingrained in their beliefs, because it's just going to wear you down, and it doesn't lead to anywhere. I mean, I've done that so many times, and if they really believe that's the way it is, like, who am I to come and try to change them? Like, I usually say that I just preach to the choir. If someone wants to learn something and they feel this resonates, hey, I'm very happy to share, but I never try to convince someone of something they don't believe and try to push it on them, and never have arguments like that. It just never leads anywhere useful for anyone, I've found. Mats, how come you aren't a Netflix person anymore? If two things. One of them is that I feel like it's such a waste of time. I'd much rather be working on making a video, or like now I have this. I've started with concepts for my course, like, and that is really for me fun. I really enjoy doing that, thinking about, okay, how do I teach someone to meditate? And then my mind runs off with all these tangents, like, no, we're just making it beginner. What do they need to know? Okay, they need to know what happens when you sit down, what's normal, what can they expect, what are the different techniques they need to know, sitting posture, what time of day, how long should they sit, like the very basic things, like should I use a timer, should I not use a timer, how should I hold my hands, the kind of questions that for me it's like, well, like, why you even ask, this is like so obvious, but it's not obvious. I mean, you can't, it's not obvious if you don't know, kind of. So I'm really trying to think for someone who feels new to this and has not done this for hundreds or thousands of hours or tens of thousands of hours. Then there are many more questions that one might realize at first. I'm really having a fun time trying to figure that out. That was my answer to, like, why I don't like Netflix. There are other things that I find more enjoyable. And also another thing, when you start looking at distortion and just enjoying your experience rather than the story of your life, meaning like it's enjoyable sitting here feeling the cold, feeling everything happening, rather than the story. I am online, I am giving a talk right now to a camera, people are listening, and instead just, oh, it's nice to feel the vibration of my voice. I don't really know what I've said, but it's really nice to feel what it feels like to talk, and we'll just see what comes out. When you start really living life like that, then all the drama and the like, and she was walking down the road and he looked at her and she thought, is this it? And it's like, it just is difficult to get emotionally engaged in that, because it's just so silly and so over the top, and acting, especially when you're really non-centric and you're not distorting so much, it looks a lot like a high school play, kind of, in comparison to how it felt before. Granted, some actors are really good. There are some that just make it look very natural. I think I spoke about it before. There's a series I watched with my fiance on Netflix called Nobody Wants This, with can't remember her name, but she got famous, I think, from Heroes. You know that series, a long time ago. Yeah, I can't remember her name, but they just had such incredible chemistry. Like the two people, the main characters, it's like both me and my fiance were like, they're not acting. They just filmed this while they were walking. It was so real, kind of, and that was just really enjoyable. That I really enjoyed to watch. So yeah, it's difficult, especially Netflix. Also, they have so much low quality stuff. It's just pump out lots of volumes and not really thought through. And I mean, I've seen literally thousands of movies, and you've seen most of the stories. It's rare that something new comes up. It's always the same thing happening over again, and like small twists on it. And so yeah, it doesn't relax me the same way it did before. Sometimes though, sometimes it does, and sometimes I enjoy just putting something on and just letting it run. But yeah, for me now, I might change it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with watching Netflix. I mean, if it makes you feel good, then that's good. If you use it as a way to like escape reality, a big part of the day, then that's probably a bad thing. Like everything is dangerous in excess, or bad in excess, and many things can be good in small quantities. I think I like more, if I want to watch a movie, I want to really choose a good movie and then watch that. I guess I could do that on Netflix also. It just seems like their movies are just really bad, most of them. I think so. Oh yeah, and I watched, sorry, I'm just talking about random stuff. Mats saying, I think I also have phases where I watch a lot of content and then stop for months. Yeah, it's like an overload. I watched on Netflix about UFOs. What was it called? UFO something. And it's interesting to see how conspiracy theories, they like have all these things in common, and one of the main thing is like they invoke fear. There's like this fear, feel like, oh, there's something unknown, something spying on us, something taking like humans as cattle and just doing experiments on them, and it's really scary. Like I don't actually know, it might be true, like or not be true, but the point is that it tends to create a stronger feeling of us versus them. Like really, most conspiracy theories are, there's this deep, is it called deep state? Deep, like secret Illuminati, I think that was called before at least, who control us, and there's like, it's us versus them, and there's this strong like sense of like, I am here and the evil people are there. And yeah, most people who get caught up in conspiracy theories, it does not make you happier most of the time. It also is very common when people feel mentally bad. So I would just recommend to stay away from conspiracy theories. Like whether they're true or not, I mean, just leave that to someone else to figure out, because you can go down those pathways and just like get so caught up in it. And I listen to some of it sometimes, I'm like, wow, people really, and they have such incredible theories. They really, it's so thought out. Some of it just doesn't make any sense at all when you really start questioning it. But people do spend a lot of time on this, and yeah, I think it really wastes awareness from here, like being here and really experiencing now. Like it's something outside of here. It doesn't mean you can't be engaged with something that isn't happening right here, but your experience is here. You don't need to make it wider than it is. Like just deal with the things you need to deal with, and the things you don't need to deal with, and leave that to someone else. If there's something else outside of here you want to deal with, by all means do that, but not just by talking crap about it or going around worrying about it or watching TV and making yourself go to sleep, losing sleep over it, or yeah, just consume things that make you enjoy life more. Nicole, hey Nicole. Good evening, everyone. I gave up on Netflix too. Today I was reading instead. Reality transurfing. Well, that sounds interesting. Mats, how do you find balance of being in the moment versus engaging in other stuff? Well, that's the thing. If you're really experiencing your senses, you are incredibly engaged with the things around you. Kids are such a good pointer as this. If I'm really here, if I'm engaged with what I'm experiencing around me, it's so easy to be with kids. Because they just love it. They soak it up. They want attention. They want awareness. They don't want us going like, oh yeah, honey, yeah, sure, yeah, I'm doing this. Yep. Oh, no, wait 1 minute. I'm just gonna... Like they hate that. They want you. They want you to be there. And when your mind, I don't want to say mindful, but when you're in your senses and experiencing reality, they can feel it, and they play, and you have fun, and everything become kind of young, childish. Maybe not childish, but imagine having, if you remember when you were a teenager, hopefully, and you had that just joyous, easy feeling, or like, oh, I'm fun, I'm doing stuff, the world is anything is possible. You didn't feel all this like responsibilities, history, the world's problems are weighing on your shoulders. I just have fun. It's kind of like that, but with the sensibilities of being an adult, meaning you don't become an imbecile or an idiot. You still have thinking. I mean, your ability to think about things, that doesn't disappear. Mats, can you be in the moment while being immersed in the story of a movie? No, you're never immersed in anything. That it's one way of noticing it is that when you're watching the movie screen, you kind of get into it and you stop seeing things around it. When you're non-centric and really aware, you see the whole field. It's like it's not you're watching the movie and everything else disappear. It's you see the whole field of everything around you, and the screen is there. It's kind of when I'm watching like into this camera now, it's not that I'm watching kind of like into this tiny thing here. It's more that I'm aware of all of that, and I'm just pointing my eyes towards that point. But I'm still seeing the lamp and the door and all the things around me. Those things are all still there. I had something I was thinking about before, but I forgot about it. Yeah, basically, just turn towards joy. Practice on enjoying. Hey, Stephen. Oh, nice to have you here again, Stephen. practice really enjoying being with your senses, with your experience. It sounds so easy that people are like, yeah, I do that. It's not so important. But no, really, if you start doing this, you'll see that it's the opposite of what the self wants. The self wants to be uncomfortable. The self wants to kind of create conflict. That's why I think conspiracy theories are so easy to sell, because the self wants to feel, oh, it's me against them or us. And when it's us, then I belong with these people and we hate those people. It's very easy to create these feelings of duality and we push against it. But when you enjoy and you're happy, and especially when you appreciate your senses, not your life story, but like appreciate the things you see and really start seeing like, how can this be beautiful? Okay, this one is actually beautiful. I mean, actually it is, I think at least. Let's take what's not beautiful. This one, like my sock, my I don't even know what to call these. I wear them when it's cold, so it's like wool. And like, if you can actually look at this and see that, oh, this is interesting. Like, look at the patterns. Look at like how this goes here. And there's like, oh, there's some kind of, I wonder what that is, and curiosity, and just, oh, it's stuck there. That's some kind of, oh, there's some food from the kids. They're still on the floor, very likely. Here, this might be some vomit from when they vomited the other week. Oh, look, there's a like dust here because it's been folded. And not feeling, oh, dust, yucky, vomit, like that, but actually like appreciating and experiencing what you're seeing. Then life just is enjoyable, and it goes against the self wanting to create this conflict and distortion towards things around you, or feeling like, no, this is bad. No, we can't have it. I need to wash this. I'm not saying you shouldn't wash it if it's dirty. I'm just saying that the feeling I need to wash it, that's the problem. Why did I start talking about that? I'm still not feeling well, so if I ramble too much, I'll blame the cold. It's not that I'm just a bit off. Okay, so let's see. Let's start the meditation before it gets too late. For those of you who are new, what we do is we usually chat, or I ramble most of the time for 15-20 minutes before, and then we do the 5-4-3-2-1 method, which is exactly what I was talking about here. We try to really experience what our senses are showing us without any emotional reaction towards it. We were just like, oh, there's stuff here, and really try to look at it without, I don't want to say valuing or having craving or aversion, but the feeling of something, and that goes both positive and negative, is just something here. Because what happens is that we don't see this for how it really is. We see this and we say, oh, I know this is a sock, I know this is some kind of plastic, I know this is wool, and we have all these knowledge, which is, that doesn't disappear. But what does disappear is the feeling of, oh, I know wool, and I can feel. For most people, wool means eco, kind of natural. It means sheep. Sheeps are cuddly, probably not poisonous, unless you've had experiences with older wool that actually had some anti-moth stuff that was poisonous. Like, you have all these feelings towards it. When that disappears, then you really see something as it is, without the self coming in the way and making everything kind of hazy, without having a pressure towards it. And then life becomes effortless. Life is easy because you don't need to defend your view saying, oh, this is bad, this is good, I want it like this, I don't want it like this. I need to change this before I can feel good. And by short-circuiting that, by just feeling good, you kind of jump over all those hurdles and you start seeing reality as it is. And then you can sink deeper into that, and that comes after. But the first part is like, you go from feeling, oh, I need this to change, usually goes through neutral, and then you get into appreciating or enjoying. And then if you go beyond that, then you get kind of what I call happy feet, which is that feeling in the stomach when you just wake up in the morning and you're a teenager or a child and you're like, oh, today has endless possibilities. It's going to be so fun. I don't know what to do. And you just feel free. It's just open. And you wake up and you open the blinds and like, wow, look at this day. It's beautiful. It's raining. I get to jump in muddy puddles. Like, really that feeling of not like, oh man, It's raining. Oh, I wonder, is the house gonna leak in? What kind of clothes am I gonna wear? Oh, this is tough. That was a bit of a tangent, but that's why we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, to go towards that. And you can short circuit that whole system by enjoying and appreciating what your senses are showing you. And you'll see, it's not as easy as it seems. It's actually ridiculously difficult. After that, today is Thursday, so there's no guiding today, but we will sit together for 20 minutes, and then my throat is feeling a little bit so-so, so it won't be a very long question and answer after, but we'll have a short one after. So you can say it together with me. Obviously say what you see, not what I see. Try to say it out loud, because we're really trying to see and stop and be aware, and feel, stop and be aware. So I see a reflection in the lens. I see blue light reflecting off the desk. I see cartons. I see a tripod. The beautiful red little dot. I see an image of myself. And when I'm looking at myself, feeling, is there any kind of distortion? Is there like, oh my goodness, someone's watching me, because I don't feel like someone is, I don't have the feeling of someone observing me, but all of a sudden when I watch me, like, oh yeah, people are observing me. Do I have any distortion towards that? Am I creating any pressure? Just see, it's just an image. I can see that when I do this, it's going to take about 20 seconds, and then I'll see me do that on the screen as well, because there's a delay when I talk. After that, we do 4 things that we can feel. I can feel my hand touching my arm. Really try to feel, what does that actually feel like? We just go, oh yeah, I feel it. But no, really feel how it's enjoyable to feel touch. To feel like your arm is being touched. What does that actually feel like? Don't just brush it away, oh, I've felt that 100,000 times before. No, really feel. What does the sensation of being touched on your arm feel like? I can feel air blowing on my face from the heater. I can feel the collar of my t-shirt touching the back of my spine. When we observe, it's important you don't go narrow. Don't feel I am here and I'm observing this, creating that like, oh, I'm watching, like with a magnifying glass, because that creates distance. That creates a sense of separation and distortion. We want to have wide awareness. We're trying to be aware of the feel. What does it actually feel like when I touch there? I've completely forgotten. I think that probably was 2. I can feel the plastic underneath my sock. It's an interesting sensation. Huh. And I can feel the metal of my bell. So those are 4 things that I could feel with my feeling sense. After this, we go to 3 things that we can hear. And here, really try to listen for details, nuances, maybe not the first loud sound that is in front of you, but really listen for sounds within the sounds and just let sound come. In other words, become aware of your sense of hearing, because it's a sense that we just listen to speech, but we're not aware of so many of the nuances. hear my clothes moving on my skin. I can hear a low humming sound. I can hear a popping in the walls because it's a few minus outside, so either the metal or the wood is contracting. After this we go to our sense of smell. So 2 things that we can smell. I can smell the warm air from the heater. There's a smell of fabric. Finally, we take one thing that we can taste. I can still taste the taste of honey in my mouth. free to keep your eyes closed, open your eyes, have a cup of tea, get up, or just keep on sitting, whatever feels good for you. The main thing is bring that quietness, that calmness of being aware of what's happening with you when you open your eyes. See, Nadja is saying, I find it very difficult to focus on my breath. It always feels forced and unnatural. I've always had this problem. Anyone else? Okay, tell me a little bit about how you focus on the breath, Nadja. What are you trying to do when you focus on your breath? Can you describe it to me a little bit? And maybe we can see what the problem is. Also, if it changes from when you start sitting to towards the end, or if it's the same the whole time. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to ask them. And obviously, if someone else has the same issue as Nadja, then feel free to write about it. That there are some things that can happen there. Let's see. I'm trying counting to 8 and backwards, but I feel like I breathe very fast, or I'm forcing breath. Mats is saying, focus on my breath felt forced at times for me when my awareness was a bit too narrow. I just tried to relax and count the spaces between the breaths, and it went away with time. One of the things that can happen when we start observing the breath is that, do you remember when we were, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but you have a child, so I'm assuming you're at least like 16, 20 something. I remember when I was a teenager and I would walk down the corridor of our high school, and there was like these lockers, rows and rows upon lockers, and they had tables, so everyone saw when you walked by. And I would start walking, I'm like, yeah, I'm walking, and then there'd be like people looking at me, maybe like that cute girl who I liked, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, like right foot, left foot, wait, was it right, left? And I almost stumbled because I kept overthinking, how do I walk? 39, yeah, see, almost 16. So it's like difficult to walk because we start thinking about, how do I walk? And it was with so many things when I was a teenager. I remember this, like this awkwardness of like, how do I actually do this? A similar thing can happen when we start observing the breath, because you might not have noticed your breath before it was just happening, or maybe you were like forcing it when you were breathing really hard. But when the way we try to do it is really, we try to just step aside and let breath happen. And that can be difficult to do. It can be difficult to let go of the control of our breath by observing it. And I think Mats had a good point in that if you try to feel it too much, if you try to really narrow down on, like the way I did it, one of the mistakes I did at first was I tried to feel the actual sensations, like in this tiny part of my ribs, like, what does that feel like? Okay, actually that's not a problem right now, but in the beginning I remember it was because I was making it so narrow, and I was trying to then think about what I was doing instead of just kind of taking a step back and just letting the breath happen. I'm not sure if you heard that, but when we, like Mats was saying, the counting, the way we do it is we do in and out, and there's a natural pause there, and you wait for that pause. 1. There's a reason we do that, because I remember when I started meditating and I started breathing, and I noticed that my thoughts and my mind and my distortions would kick in and drift away in that pause, because there's something happening, a quick turnaround, and then it goes down, something happening, and then there's a pause. And in that pause, the mind kind of, oh, nothing is happening. Hey, I wonder about, and you drift away. So there is a reason as to why we put the count in the middle of that pause, to really be aware of it. And then otherwise, it's like Mats is saying, it's taking a step like back, have a wide focus, not like this. That should help. I'm trying to think of other things. Forced at times. Is it the focus? Okay, is it the focusing that feels forced, or is it the actual breathing that feels forced? Sorry, I was just assuming the breathing was forced. Because there's a difference between the focusing being forced and the breathing itself being forced. Matt's also saying one tip that worked for me was waiting for the breath, just letting it happen. Exactly, yeah. Mindful Mama, I never do the counting to 8. I always do my own breathing observation. Aya baya. Just observing, I'm kidding. Just observing the breaths. And sometimes it feels forced when I realize the breath changes. Interesting. Yeah, how you don't need to do the breathing. I mean the counting, if that doesn't feel good. Like, that's just optional. It really helps when the mind is all over the place, or when you have a hard time calming down. You really go, whoa. It's a very good way of grabbing a hold of the breath and then being aware of it, but then gently you can relax that. Nadia, thank you everyone. I don't seem to have a pause. Maybe I'm too anxious. Oh really? Then yes, then you are breathing, then you are making breath happen, Nadia. I can tell you that for sure, because natural breath is in, out. There's a pause, and then in, out. So if you are breathing then you're making breath happen. It's very interesting. I am going to think about this a little bit more, because that's not something that I usually run into. There are people who do yoga who have exercises where they control their breaths. And I'm trying to remember, there was one person who did something similar. And they're not exactly the same. I have to think about this one. What would be the best way to approach that? Maybe I'm too anxious. Well, it doesn't have to be anxious. It's difficult sometimes to get out of the way and let breath happen, for sure. Mats is saying, I tried the sneeze cough meditation today. Very potent at creating distortions. Okay, nice. I have not sneeze cough. That sounds like a fun exercise. Nicole Bray, I don't focus on the breath. I focus on the sound I hear in my ears. Yeah, absolutely. That were perfect. You can focus on the color behind your eyes. It's also a really good technique to do for some people. Stephen, when you look at the world and see all the evil, how do you think about it? Well, it sucks. Mindful Mama, which I do, changing the breath at once. I put my focus on it. Well, this is part of it is like Mats is saying also, it's experience. Like, I don't know how long you've been meditating, Nadia, or if this is a new thing for you to observe the breath, but it does take time to get out of the way. There are also, we haven't talked so much about it, but there's something called jnanas. There's stages you go through, and in some of these stages, it is impossible to follow the breath. It's like breath feels like it's not flowing at all. There's certain stages where the breath kind of goes like, and it just stutters, and it feels weird, and it feels like, oh, I have to make it happen, because if I don't, then it just stands still in the middle of a breath, and it can be really strange. So there are certain periods when you meditate that this will happen, and you just sit through them. That will change. So, I mean, I would give it some time to begin with, but like I said, I'm going to think also a little bit if there's something else we could do to help that. Remind me of it next time. Let's see, Mindful Mama is saying, I'm reading a book, Breath, right now, by the way. Super interesting. 90% of everyone is breathing actually forces or wrong. Interesting. Mats, do you have any tips for test taking? I have 3 exams next week. While I am prepared, I get anxious and sometimes underperform. While I am prepared, I get anxious and sometimes underperform. So this is really a perfect example of focusing on your experience, not the story of your life. If you have a story of your life, you are going to this hall, and your future is going to be determined. What you do in the next few hours is going to either ruin or save your life. If you fail, you will be out on the streets, you will lose your job, everything will go down the drain. If you succeed, well, Elon Musk better look out. That's the story of what's going to happen when you go to the test. If you look at it from the perspective of experience of your life, you've studied, that's done. You've learned what you can, you're prepared. Then you're simply getting up in the morning, you're putting your clothes on, feeling what it feels like to have the fabrics touch your skin, drink your coffee or your tea, and you feel what that feels like. Then you take your bike, take the bus, car, however you get to the place where you do your examination. And you're standing outside and you're looking at the building like, that's an interesting building. Look at the architecture, look at the reflections, feel the wind, just be experiencing the reality that you're experiencing. You go through these doors and you come in, lots of people. Oh, it's interesting to see people. There's all these smells, there's sounds, people are talking, people are carrying things. And then you go into a room and you get a little piece of paper, you go sit over there. You go and you sit down and then you open up and then there's all these questions. Then you read the question, that's the question, and you answer the questions from whatever knowledge you have. You're not going to gain super knowledge from another level of dimension by meditating, but you can become very aware of what you're doing right then. So instead of thinking about the consequences of the test or the story around the test, just do exactly what we're doing now, being aware of your experience of reality. And all the time, like, this is such a good time to do this also. When I say feel good, I mean that literally, feel good. You can feel that the sense of self is always in movement. It doesn't want to stay still. There's always this sense of, I want to create some kind of conflict. I want to create pressure. I don't want to be right here. I need to move over there. And it creates these stories as to why I need to move over there, because then life will be much better. If you look at that and you say, can I choose to just feel good now? Why should I waste? I mean, people want to live forever. Like, I don't want to die. But they're miserable the whole time because I want to get somewhere else. Like, why not just enjoy now? You're here now, this moment. Like, why aren't you allowing yourself to enjoy now? Well, I can't enjoy it now because I'm going to a test, so obviously I can't enjoy it now. But maybe if I study really hard and then I have lots of anxiety and I go to the test and I feel miserable, and then I feel even worse after because I'm waiting for the results, and then I have to study again. But if I do that for a few years, then maybe I will get a job and I can enjoy just being. But no, then actually I have to make sure I get a career and I earn enough money, and I need to buy all those new things, and then when I bought those, then I can enjoy myself. Actually, when I get those things, I think I need better things. That's not enough. And then you keep on doing this, and then eventually you retire and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be happy when I retire because then I don't have to work anymore. And you retire like, oh shit, like life is over, I'm gonna die. I need to make sure I live longer, then I can enjoy myself. It sounds so silly, but it is. I wish I could tell you how much more is to it. It really is the kryptonite to the sense of self, because the sense of self goes like, no, we are not going to enjoy ourselves. You need to do this. Who would you be if you didn't do this? If I didn't feel bad about the test, how could I even go? Like, then I wouldn't even take the test. That's not what happens. Nadia, good luck with your exams. Mats was really hoping for the other dimension, unlock galactic knowledge kind of meditation. So I guess Elon Musk is safe for now. Thanks for the tips. Yeah, that is like spirituality for most people. The way it's practiced, is basically how to create your dream life. It's not how to enjoy the life you have. It still deals with the idea that you need to change all this stuff to be able to enjoy. That doesn't mean we shouldn't change our life story. In other words, I'm not saying don't, like if you have bad health, I'm just going to sit here and wallop in my misery and feel sick and bad. I'm not going to do anything about it. No, absolutely, like do whatever you can to get better. It's great that you're studying for your tests and you're wanting to progress in life, but don't hinge your happiness on what happens with that. Don't hinge your your enjoyment and appreciation of being in this body, because I think you're quite young. I don't remember, but like 30ish or something maybe. Like you don't feel too old. So you have youth. You have a body that works. Hopefully you don't have any serious genetical diseases that makes it so that you can't live life fully or experience reality. Like, enjoy it. Why would you wait until you're older? Because trust me, when you get older, there's lots of more aches and pains and other worries we have to think about. And there's this saying like, the youth is wasted on the youth is wasted on the young, or something like that. What is it? Health is, whenever. I would have used my youth much better now than I did when I was a youth. That's what I'm trying to say. Does anyone know that saying? So basically, just try enjoying. And the first part is noticing, wait a minute, I am uncomfortable 99.9% of the time of the day, maybe even 100% of the day. You are uncomfortable. You're feeling like, it's not just, I don't want to be there. Instead of just feeling comfortable, when Nadia was saying it feels forced and there's difficulty, that feels like a bit of anxiety behind that, because it's like, I want it to be different. If you would really enjoy being, it wouldn't matter if you were forcing your breath and making your breath. That's not the point. It's this pressure that we're trying to look at. If you believe that your life is going to be so much better when this thing happens in the future, or if I could just move over here, if I could just change so this doesn't blow in my face, then I would be happy. Feel good and then do the change you want. In other words, focus first and foremost on enjoying being here. Youth is wasted on the young. Yes, I think that's what it is, and it really is. Like when you're young, you just go out, you get drunk, you like do stupid stuff and like ruin your body, and then you get old and you're like, because it doesn't feel like you're ever gonna die when you're young, and then you're all like, man, I should have taken care of my body a bit more. Like that was like so dumb. I'm happy I didn't I wasn't too mean to my body. I was quite kind. I'd like to think, at least. Hey, I blame you, Mats. It's 9:10. I just wanted to have a nice short discussion after, and we always do. I hope that helps with the exam, and good luck with the exam, Nadia. I will think a little bit more about what to do with that, and if you want to, you can write down like anything else that comes up and how that feels, because what it sounds like is that you're making breath happen. Like that you are intentionally breathing. So I'll think of ways how to make that easier. Thank you everyone for today, as always. Amazing. Until next week, this weekend, really try this. I mean, I say it and I mean it. Try looking how you feel and just feel good, despite the circumstances on your outside. Try it. Really, you have the ability to do this, and it's not positive thinking, life is going to get so much better because this doesn't matter because it's going to be okay in the end anyway. We're not talking about the story. I'm talking about your experience right now. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of now, but right now, just enjoy here. See you on Monday. Bye, and have a good weekend.